Hi, everybody. I'm doing this before the deep freeze hits this week. I hope all of you are as prepared for it. I keep telling myself that at least it kills fleas. At least it kills fleas. But I'm definitely not looking forward to it. Some of you may love the cold weather, but I'm not one of them. But anyway, moving right along. Continuing with my topic on goals for this month, I've got a fairly long quote, but I think it's a powerful one. So let me get started with that. I don't have, I start that one all over again. I don't care how much power, brilliance, or energy you have. If you don't harness it and focus it on a specific target and hold it there, you're never going to accomplish as much as your ability warrants. Zig Ziglar. Now, he was a promotional, as far as I know, he's still a promotional speaker. But I think that that's a fairly powerful quote if you really think about it. If you get down to the real core to that, you can have all the goals in the world you want, but if you don't focus on it, they're basically just wishes, aren't they? Now, with this in mind, I discovered this past week, actually on Friday, the January the 12th, I discovered that January 12th is, believe it or not, National Quitters Day. They actually have a day for National Quitters. And it was sort of like puzzling, so I looked it up. Somebody's done the calculations and figured out that when people make New Year's resolutions, on the average, January 12th is when everybody decides, well, not everybody, when a lot of the people decide that they're just going to give up and not even going to try it anymore. So they don't even last for 2 weeks. I thought that that was somewhat astounding. It's a little longer than I thought. I was going to go with maybe 7 to 10 days, but 12 days, but still it's not 2 weeks. But the fact that so many people make this, in a sense, a recurring habit, if you will, that they've got a national holiday for the idea of all the quitters out there who gave up on their New Year's resolutions. And I think that that just goes in with this particular quote. I hadn't intended the two of them to go together. I actually found the quote after that, but maybe that's what was going through my mind when I saw it. But again, the idea, if you don't focus on it, in other words, you can have all the goals in the world you want, but you need to focus. And the second part to it, which Ziegler doesn't mention, but I think somewhat goes along with it, is that you've got to take action on it. You can focus on it and think about it, but if you don't do anything about it, nothing's going to happen. Pick a goal, any goal, losing weight, getting fit, getting a new job, whatever. You can think about it, but have to do something about it to get to wherever it is you want to go. But Ziegler is going here with the idea that it needs to be a focused action. Well, at least focused on it, if not action. I'm adding the word action. But you've got to concentrate on it. And I think this is where many of us, I don't necessarily want to say fall apart, but I think that this is where we tend not to follow through as we get this goal and we think about it. And that's about as far as it goes. Now, to some degree, we may focus on it. You may focus on the idea that I want out of this job. I hate this job. I can't do anything about this job. I got to get out of this job, etc. Or I want to lose weight or whatever. But the next part to it is where I add the word action, is we focus on it and do something about it. So let's assume, I'm going to guess, given we've had National Quitters Day, in which they say the majority of people give up. So I'm going to guess that some of you have at least maybe not necessarily given up on your New Year's resolutions, but have more or less sort of kind of like forgot about them, maybe, perhaps, could be. So I'm wondering, you had that New Year's resolution. What did you do about it? What actually did you do beyond 48 or 72 hours? Did you do anything about it? Did you create a plan? Did you start thinking about what you needed to do to get there? So as I said, if you're looking for a new job, did you create a plan of what you needed to do? Maybe get online and create something, what is the word? Create an account in Indeed or Monster or something like that. Do you create a resume and put it out there? Did you do anything about it other than just sort of like get on the computer and start looking if there was anything available, or getting in the newspaper if anybody does that anymore? I guess they still do in some local communities, to see if there's a local job that you might be interested in. But beyond that, what did you do? Do you have an actual concrete plan, ideas about what you want to do and what you're going to do and where you're going to do it? And let's just say, using the newspaper or the computer, whichever way you want to go with it, you decide that you're going to go on and you're going to look and see if there's anything you can find on the job. Let's see if I can pause this. No, I can't pause. Hopefully, while she goes barking, she'll go off. Hopefully, you won't hear too much. And so you look up on the computer and nothing's there. So then what? Do you just say, oh, well, I'm not going to find anything? Or do you go back and look at it the next day? Or do you say, okay, let me take a look at the keywords and the keyword search that I'm using? Could I change the keywords? Do you do anything to change anything to try and see if you can get better responses? Or do you just look, it doesn't work out once, and you give up? And I think this is where Ziegler is coming from, is that you have to take action and you have to focus on it. And the idea that if something's not working, what else can you try? Because if you just look at something and it's not working and you give up, I don't call that focus. Now, especially those of you who have children, adolescents, and you've told them perhaps to clean their room, and they say, they do something and they say, oh, well, it was too dirty, or I couldn't find a laundry hamper or something. They give you this little excuse about why they couldn't do it. What are you going to do then? Are you going to accept it? You're probably going to say no. And you're probably going to let them know or give them a hamper or whatever it is that they need and say, go on and finish cleaning your room or something along that line. Even though that may not be the example of what you guys go through, you kind of get the point. You tell people at work to do something and they say, well, I can't do it because, and you're looking at them saying, okay, yeah, right, sure. Because they're giving you something of an excuse. They think they've got a valid reason, but they're giving you an excuse about why they can't do it because it's the first thing they can come up with, and they're thinking that you're going to let them go. Now, my question is do you do that to yourself? Probably. I would be willing to bet that some of you do that to yourself. Oh, I can't do that because I don't have this, I don't have that, I don't have something else. So the issue then becomes is how much of that is an excuse? How much of that is you're taking something to get your focus off of it and you're basically giving up? So if you're willing to give it up that easily, is it something you really, really want? How can you want something and you're not willing to focus on it? Jim Carrey, and I don't know where he did the interview. It may have been, well, I don't really know where he did the interview, but I know he did an interview with somebody once and basically said that he was getting really depressed one night. And he went out and looked at the hills over Hollywood. As I understand it, was looking over the hills of Hollywood. Anyway, I know he was in his car looking out and thinking, I've got to do this. And he wrote himself a check for $1 million, stuck it in his wallet. And 3 years later, he pulled it out. And that, I think, if I understand correctly, was the day he got the contract for Ace Ventura, at which point his career took off. It took him 3 years to get to that point, but he worked so that he could, in a sense, earn the check that he wrote to himself. But he focused on getting that because he says, I'm going to do this. I'm going to make it. Check it out. I mean, I'm not exactly, again, it's a part of me wants to say Oprah, but I won't know for sure that it was Oprah or not. But I've heard this story several times, and he's apparently told it on TV. But again, the concept's the same thing. Are you willing to go in and do the work to get to where you want to be? And if you don't, then why not change a goal and get to something you want to do? So again, put your focus on it. You could be, as Ziegler says, you could have brilliance, you could have energy, you could have all sorts of great talents. But if you're not going to focus on it, it's not going to happen. Okay? So I'm going to challenge you this week to take a look at it and think in terms of what can you do? What plans can you make? How can you change some behaviors? And this may be the crucial part that you don't want to do. So you might have to think about it. Is there a behavior you need to change that you don't want to? At which point you have to think in terms of which is more important, achieving the goal or changing the behavior. And then you make that decision for yourself. But what are you going to have to do to keep going so that this time next year you are either have accomplished your goal or you're closer to it than you are right now? Because if you're not willing to do it, then why still tell yourself you want the goal? Aren't you sort of lying to yourself? If you say you want the goal, but you're not willing to put yourself out to do it. So anyway, do you want to next year celebrate National Quitters Day with everybody else, or maybe celebrate it this year now that you know that it exists? Or do you want to have a goal accomplished by the end of the year or closer to being accomplished? Your choice. So just thought I'd let you have some words on that and let you think about it. So I hope this was helpful. I hope all of you get through this coming week, at least those of you, which is apparently going to be most of the country, going to go into the deep freeze, and you stay warm and take care of yourselves, and we will chat with you later. Bye.